indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone. On this primary election day, we'll try to finish our business and let you get home and watch the results. Do you have any public comment from the board?
Go ahead. A concerned resident forwarded to the BOS a copy of an email she sent to the chairman of the school building committee. I'd like to read that. Several members of the public have appeared before the school building committee regarding the use of contingency funds for discretionary items. I would have thought this would have some impact on the decision-making process for such items. Instead, the first items, murals, considered were approved based on members assessing the subjective value of the items. There was not a single objective reason given for approval of the items. Most boards' committees strive to remove subjectivity from decision-making processes. The school building committee has done the opposite and demonstrated it is willing to exercise its power to make arbitrary decisions. This is a publicly funded project, not a home improvement project of an individual. Executive authority over the project and the bond council opinion do not justify the absence of objective standards being used in the school building committee decision-making process. Please recognize, address this significant flaw in process prior to making any more decisions.
Mr. Lanza.
So before I start with my announcements, I would like to ask, after, I don't know, this is probably a month and a half now where every public session starts out with some letter against the school building committee. I would like to ask, what is the purpose of reading that in the public comment of the school building, of the Board of Selectmen, and not to the school building committee? I don't understand the purpose in this forum except to constantly harp on the school building committee for all the things that they've been doing, and all of them since all this came out, in open session, in televised sessions, in joint sessions with the Board of Selectmen. It does get to be a little bit monotonous that we're just hearing this train of emails that have gone to all the members of the school building committee, that have gone to the school committee, that have gone to the Board of Selectmen. I just understand the purpose in the public comment of the Board of Selectmen, why these keep getting read.
Well, I'm not sure that the school building committee has received this email because it was addressed to Mike Mack and the chair. And I believe that the Board of Selectmen are the chief executive officers of the town, and that the residents of Lunenburg look to us to be leaders, and they look to us for information. We had a meeting with the school building committee right here. The citizens think that we're involved. They may not even know that we have absolutely no power. The school building committee is considering spending $4 million. The whole town of Lunenburg budget is only $30 million, so it's the equivalent of 1/7 of the annual budget. The capital planning committee only had $600,000 to spend this year. I went to those meetings, which no school building committee members attended as far as I recall, and they were arguing about, or they were trying to decide if they could eke out $16,000 for a police all-terrain vehicle. I mean, this is a community that is very frugal and tries very hard to watch their pennies and spend money in a frugal way. And I have no confidence that the school building committee is approaching the use of the contingency funds in that way. And I feel that this is public comment and it's appropriate.
So, I mean, at long last, that's really what it comes down to. I just wanted to be said. So there are members of this board that have no confidence in the school building committee who have kept the project completely on time, completely under budget, and have not made, I'd love to hear a decision, that was made. First of all, the count that $4 million is going to be spent is completely false. Everybody on this board who was at that meeting knows that was completely false. That is not even close to what we are considering, because many items we're taking off. And it just seems to be that they were a duly appointed committee. They were duly elected, authorized by a town meeting vote to do the project, which is going to come in very much under budget. I think people don't understand that. And, I'd love to see the evidence that we're not acting without confidence of what we're being asked to oversee. And it just seems to be, like I said, it's just an endless series of subtle but very pointed digs at the committee over and over and over that just gets to be tiring, I have to say. If I was not on the committee, I would say the same thing. I think it's just very, very tiring. Anyway, my announcements. I want to announce that, first of all, the polls are still open, and I think they're open until 8 o'clock p.m. tonight. So if you haven't gotten out, I heard that they were busy from some people in attendance here in the audience, that the polls are doing well from people coming home. So it is an important primary, however you feel about your politics and your terms. But so I encourage people to go out and vote. And then second, we are just 2 Fridays away. I don't know, I'm trying to do the math. 10 days, 11 days away from the Boys and Girls Club Are You Smarter Than a Sixth Grader, which is a lot of fun and a lot of enjoyment. And we're still looking for 3 teams. If we can get three groups of 3 people to participate, A, it's fun, B, it's for a great cause, C, there's prizes, and I don't know, I'll throw myself in there. I'm emceeing it, so you get to spend the night with me and a whole bunch of great kids and a lot of great volunteers. So if you have a team of 3 that you would love to be involved as a team, that would be great. We encourage it, and you can contact the Boys and Girls Club either directly by phone or going to the website at bgcluboflunenburg.org. So I encourage that. Thank you.
Mrs. Bertram, do you have any public comment or announcements?
I don't.
I just would like to mention that there is an agenda item for next week where the board will discuss the role of the Board of Selectmen in representing the board or themselves, and the role of the board on various committees, as a liaison, as a member, as a voting member, et cetera. So we'll have a fairly broad discussion of that next week, but I wanted to make sure it was a week that everybody was here. In the way of announcements, this is from the clerk's office. In anticipation of the annual town election on Saturday, May 21st, 2016, the Citizens Party Caucus will be held on Monday, March 14th, 2016, at the Turkey Hill Middle School, 129 Northfield Road, at 7 p.m. Anyone interested in running for office should attend the caucus, and if nominated, will be placed on the ballot. For those who are interested in running for office but are not nominated that evening, they may pick up nomination papers from the town clerk's office, and those papers must be returned to the town clerk with a minimum of 42 valid voter signatures on or before Thursday, March 24th, 2016, at 4 p.m. Now that's the caucus then again is on May 21st, 2016. The election is May 21st. The caucus is March 14th at 2:16. The offices to be filled this year quickly. There's 2 selectman positions, several sewer commissioners for various lengths, Board of Health member, assessor, the town clerk, constable, 2 school committee members, 2 park commissioners for varying lengths, commissioner of trust funds, cemetery commissioner, several library trustees with varying lengths, a planning board member, and the housing authority. And for the record, I plan on standing for re-election, and I will be there on March 14th seeking the caucus nomination. Further from the town clerk, the town census has been mailed. If you haven't received a form, contact the town clerk's office at 582-4130, and one will be sent to you. And also the 2016 dog licenses are due April 1st, 2016, are also available in the town clerk's office. One other point. On Thursday, February 25th, last Thursday, I attended an event that the Salvation Army held. It was called the Angels Among Us dinner. It was a thank you dinner to thank all the volunteers from Fitchburg, Leominster, and Lunenburg for their work during 2015, and especially with their efforts during the holidays to help families and kids in our local communities. Many Lunenburg residents were recognized for their efforts. At that dinner, Lunenburg's own Dave McDonald was named Superhero Volunteer of the Year, and he was thanked for his tireless efforts to aid those who are less fortunate in our community. Congratulations, Dave.
Well deserved.
Is there any public comment from the public? Please.
David Passios, 56 Whiting Street. I'm actually here this evening representing the Board of Health. I'm also a member on that board. Just wanted to remind the residents at home, homeowners with septic issues, especially failed systems, whether you are on the sewer system presently in town or not. We launched our sewer loan program at the beginning of February, and applications are still being accepted. Please call the Board of Health office during the week, and they will, our assistant will give you the information in regards to that. The loans will be written at 2% interest, and it'll be set up as a betterment very similar to the sewer improvement betterments that have been issued for the sewer systems. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
I just have one question. Thank you for announcing that. Is there a deadline for applications?
I believe it's March 15th. I was trying to pull that date up tonight and I couldn't find it.
Okay.
We have a meeting this coming Monday night. I am kind of thinking that there may be an extension on that deadline.
Okay, and do you know if it's on the scrolls or if we could put, is it on the website currently?
It is on the website.
It is on
Yeah,
the
there is a
website.
single paragraph. It was a little bit hard to find. I did find it.
Okay, perhaps we might want to put it on the scrolls or just to get people aware of the program.
And as far as I know, the Ledger and Sentinel have been contacted, although I haven't seen anything in the papers yet.
I was just going to say I hadn't seen
Yeah,
anything
I
either.
haven't either.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's get into our current business. The first agenda item is the Boys and Girls Club Week proclamation, and we have a representative from the Boys and Girls Club. Welcome.
Hello. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it. The Boys and Girls Clubs of America National Week is March 23rd through 29th. It's a week where we highlight the best of the club and show off to the public and the community what we...
You let the public know who you are first.
Yeah, I'm Brent DeBraga, the Boys and Girls Clubs Program Director. And again, just it's a kind of a week we can showcase the best of our club. And I also like, while I'm here, I'd like to thank the community for supporting the Boys and Girls Club. As always, the community is paramount to the success of the club, so we thank you guys very much.
Great. Any questions for Brett? Okay, you have a copy of the proclamation in front of you. Do I have a motion?
I would make a motion that we sign the proclamation for the Boys and Girls Club, and in addition, I do think there's a lot of information in here. We might want to read the proclamation.
Sure. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the proclamation. Whereas the young people of Lunenburg, Massachusetts are tomorrow's leaders, and whereas many such young people need professional youth services to help them reach their full potential, and whereas there is a Boys and Girls Club of Lunenburg providing services to more than 200 young people annually, and whereas the Boys and Girls Clubs are places where great futures start, they are at the forefront of efforts in providing health and life skills, the arts, education and career development, sports, fitness and recreation, and character and leadership development. Whereas the Boys and Girls Club organizations in our state help ensure that our young people keep off the streets, offering them a safe and supportive place to go, and providing them with quality programs. And whereas the Boys and Girls Clubs of Lunenburg will celebrate National Boys and Girls Club Week 2016 along with some 4,000 clubs and more than 2 million young people nationwide. Now therefore, we, the Board of Selectmen, do hereby proclaim March 7th through March 12th, 2016, as Boys and Girls Club Week in Lunenburg, Massachusetts, and call on all citizens to join with us in recognizing and commending the Boys and Girls Club organizations in our state for providing comprehensive, effective services to the young people in our communities. Lunenburg Board of Selectmen, March 1st, 2016.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Congratulations and
Thank
thanks for
you.
your work.
And again, thanks to the community for supporting the club. Hope to see everybody at the game show.
Okay, our next order of business is a vote to change the MART route in Lunenburg.
The town manager and I met with Mart to arrange for more beneficial van transportation services so that more of our residents would be helped. To provide service to more residents without adding cost, Mart is changing the current service of 7 30-minute loops to 5 45-minute loops per day. The service still begins at 12:45 and concludes at approximately 4:15. I have the complimentary ADA service that accompanies the fixed route is provided up to 3/4 of a mile from the actual fixed route. Clients who would qualify for this service are required to fill out an ADA application and submit it to the offices at MART. Upon accepted eligibility, they would call the MART office to schedule transportation. They are still working on the map that will define the 3/4 mile as it relates to this fixed route in Lunenburg. This allows MART to determine the area where eligible residents would be able to be serviced. And MART can provide more information if you need it. I've given you a copy of their schedule. It goes from Town Hall down to Fairlane Ave, back up to Town Hall. Now, residents at Meadowwoods need to be standing outside on the same side of the street as the bus is coming to get picked up. But they will know when it's coming by, so they'll be able to do that. Then it's going to Lunenburg Crossing at Walmart, 131 White Street, CVS and Emerald Place, back to 131 White Street, Lunenburg Crossing, and Town Hall. So 131 White Street, which actually has the most participation, will be visited like 10 times. So that will be great for those folks. And there's
Pearlbrook Apartments?
yes. And there's a map of the route attached as well. And there are also some information on the ridership through November. Also the Council on Aging service. We're hopeful this additional service will help the Council on Aging van as well. And this new service went into effect today. Any questions?
I'm all for it. Since it went into effect today, I think we should vote on it.
Yeah, I
move
think
that
so.
we vote on it to change the MART routes as Mrs. Luck just explained.
Second?
Any further discussion? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
And I just want to, nope,
Opposed? None.
I just want to thank you again for your continued work on this. I think it's been a great service to the citizens of Lunenburg.
No, thank you.
And I think this is an excellent service that's available to the town without a considerable amount of additional cost, and we certainly would like people to avail themselves of the service, and the more people that do, the more we can consider expanding it and making it a permanent change.
You know, it's 60 cents for a senior citizen or a disabled person per trip. And you can get, what do you call it, transfers, so you can get down to the intermodal, all the way down to the intermodal in Fitchburg. 60
Great.
cents.
Thank you. Okay, our third item is a discussion of financing for the pavement management plan. We're going to move that to next week's,
To the 15th.
to the 15th. Okay, so that'll be on the March 15th agenda. Next agenda item is the third amendment to the intermunicipal agreement with Devon's Regional Household Hazardous Products Collection Program. Assume the town manager's going to tell us what that's all about.
Yes, so I'm sure you will recall that the town is one of a number of members of the Regional Household Hazardous Collection Program. This is a service that is open to residents of the town of Lunenburg and all member communities. There are 10 drop-off points each year. There are 2 per month with the summer, excluding the certain months. Actually, I'd have to go back and look. I apologize for that. We've been a member of this, I want to say probably for 3 or 4 years. There is some information in your packet about the participation in the program. The participation is pretty low, so I did want to take the opportunity to let people know that if you have household hazardous waste in your home, you do have an opportunity to take that over to a site at Devon's and for a very small fee be able to get rid of household hazardous waste. We've actually been members since fiscal 2012, so for 5 years or 4.5 years. At this point, there is a graph in the packet that shows the participation by community, and you can see that within the town of Lunenburg, in the first year back in fiscal 2012, we had 27 people participate in the program. We currently, in fiscal 2016, have had 62. So we've had significant growth, but there's certainly more opportunity for people to participate in the program, again, for a relatively low cost. If you have, there's some information in the packet about materials that you can bring. I'll just mention some of them. If you have paints, if you have insecticides, pool chemicals, metal polishes, household cleaners, things that you would like to get rid of if you're moving or if you're cleaning out a relative's home or something like that, this is a very good opportunity to be able to get rid of these products in a responsible manner. So this is a request to approve the third amendment. The Lunenburg has been an initial founding member. The first amendment added the town of Shirley, the second the town of Ashby, and this the third amendment to add the town of Stowe to the program. There are no additional costs to any of the member towns with the inclusion of this additional town. Any towns that come in pay the initial capital cost, just like the town of Lunenburg and all the initial members paid. The financials for the last calendar year in the packet. The program is running a small surplus. There is a chance that there are some small capital improvements that are needed, so the surplus or the retained earnings is being held for that purpose. But if at some point in time it's determined that we have too much surplus, money would be returned back to each of the member communities on a prorated basis. So it is a great program, and again, this request is to approve the third amendment to include the town of Stowe as a member community.
I would make a motion to approve the third amendment to the intermunicipal agreement.
Second?
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
One.
None.
Looks like Groton really was
Yeah.
Has been a good
really
participant.
hoarding their hazardous waste for years from that chart. More than double the next person, the next town.
Okay. Minutes. We have minutes from February 2nd, 9th, and 16th. Any warrants? Accounts payable warrant for $644,219.92. Any action file issues?
I had one. I would like the board to consider adding an alternate member to the Stormwater Task Force. We've had the situation where we weren't able to hold a meeting because we didn't have a quorum. You know, the people on this particular committee are also on a bunch of other committees, and so sometimes it's difficult. And Adam Burney, the land use director, is going to be coming to all of our meetings. So I thought if we were able to have him as an alternate, if we didn't have enough people, then he could slip in to the membership role so we could conduct the meeting.
How many members on the
7.
7?
Do we have any other committees with alternate members?
I think Conservation or Planning has some kind of alternate.
Conservation has associate, but they're not voting. The Conservation has associates, but they don't vote. And actually, they don't. This Conservation Commission doesn't actually have any.
The zoning board does, but that's allowed for under state law. So, to my knowledge, we don't have any committees that have alternate members. I can tell you, I've had chairs of committees ask me about that. I had one ask me about it today, a different committee, because of the issue with being able to have a quorum at meetings, especially when we have open, well, it's an issue.
And he will be at all the meetings, so if he could step in.
Well, is it something we want to put on the agenda and talk about as
I think we have to.
Yeah.
I think we have to. We can't vote on it without having it on the
But I
agenda.
would suggest we
Put it on the
we do that,
agenda.
yeah,
Yeah,
and make it a
absolutely.
broader topic to
Right,
talk
right,
about
right.
alternatives to any, or what committees we can have them and what committees we can't based on,
Really, it's to determine what the role of that,
exactly.
of that member is, if it's
And
official or
he
not
hasn't
official.
volunteered, I just,
You might want to check with them.
yeah.
I know we have a pretty,
might say no.
I know we have a pretty full agenda next week, even though the last couple of weeks have been light. But why don't we get it on as soon as we can?
Okay, great.
Right.
And then we can discuss it at the Stormwater Task Force as well.
I have one action item up for discussion. I've mentioned it a few times in the past, over the past year and a half or so. It would be an interesting addition, I think, or possibly a useful addition to the trash program to create, a set of bags that are larger construction-style bags for, anybody cleaning it, doing basement or garage clean-outs. Because the biggest bag we have, they're really kitchen-sized bags or trash bags. It would be nice to have a construction bag that obviously would be sold at a premium above what the other ones are, but it would be really helpful because if you find yourself cleaning out and you have the construction bags, there's nowhere to put them out, and it's not easy to call somebody to do it. So then you wind up like having to sort them back. It just doesn't. It would be really nice to be able to look into that.
We can. I don't remember that coming up before, but we
I
certainly
have
can
brought it
look.
up before, but maybe I didn't make it.
I've even thought, this might be a strange idea, I've even thought of when you have a lot of stuff, can you kind of tie 2 yellow bags to
I
one?
did that. I
to
did
one
that.
big
They didn't
black
take
one,
it.
yeah, right.
I tried it.
Yeah, right.
I tried it, and they didn't take it. I mean, or have special stickers that you can
Right,
put on,
right.
that you buy, instead of getting the bags, that you can put on big bags.
Okay,
So-
we'll look into
You
that.
can call them if you need things picked up though, right? Because
For bulky items, you can, there is a fee for that, and I'm not sure what the frequency is on picking those up.
Okay, we'll look into that, good idea. Any other action file issues? Okay, committee reports, Mrs. Bertram?
Unfortunately, because of a family medical situation, I've been out of town, so I have not been able to attend. There is an MPO meeting next week, and the Conservation Commission is meeting tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay, I went to the planning board meeting, so do you want me to say a
Sure,
few words about
sure,
that?
sure.
Okay, great. The first is my school committee report. Wednesday was the first day back after the shortened February break. Attendance was 91%, and it's usually around 96, so that was pretty good. The school committee renewed its regular transportation and special ed transportation fiscal 2017 through 2019. Both transportation companies are currently under contract with the Lunenburg School District. D-Bus was the only transportation company to bid for the district's regular transportation contract. Their new contract is a $40,000 increase over the current rate. They said that that was because the state has mandated that the company pay for all sick time for part-time employees. Does seem steep in view of the decline in price of gas, but I guess that's what it is. Vanpool is the company that does their special needs students, and their cost is remaining the same. There was another master teacher project presented. You'll recall these projects are approved annually by the superintendent and have a $5,000 stipend for approximately 100 hours of work. Robert Truax presented his, and it's interesting to see what these projects consist of. The zoning board meeting will be on Wednesday, March 23rd at 7 p.m. at Town Hall. They will hear the petition of Douglas Jackson, who wants to take the property at 436 Mass Ave and change it from a commercial property to a residence. The Stormwater Task Force met on February 10th. We discussed the role town boards currently play in stormwater control, and our goal will be to better coordination among boards is one of our main goals, I think. We are moving to meetings the second and fourth Thursday of the month. Next meeting will be March 10th at 6:30 at the Ritter. The planning board met, and the school committee is going to meet again tomorrow night. The planning board met on February 22nd. There was an information meeting on 339 Electric Ave, and that project was approved. Unitil reps updated the planning board on work done as a result of suggestions made by the Conservation Commission, and they're going to return to the planning board on March 14th. The public hearing on 274 Prospect Street was continued to March 28th. Highfield Village, this was a continuation of their hearing. The focus was on the applicant looking to build as a cluster zoning development. The town's bylaw calls for dwelling units shall be developed on a maximum of 50% of the land within the development, and this is 120 acres in this case, with the remaining 50% of the land being designated as permanent open space. So that would be 60 acres. Not more than 10% of the open space shall consist of wetlands. So that would be 6 acres. But in this case, it's 30 acres. So the planning board is wrestling with that issue. Now, in lieu of a cluster development, a site can be developed in lots with a minimum of 5 acres each, and each lot may have no more than one dwelling. So that hearing is going to be continued.
Did they continue it to a specific date and time, do you know?
Oh, I don't remember.
Okay.
They must have, yeah.
I think maybe the next meeting, but I'm not entirely
Okay.
sure.
Okay, Mr. Wanzel? Yeah.
I do have a question from the Zoning Board of Appeals update. I'm just interested in the fact that they're requesting a zoning be changed, but that's not a Zoning Board of Appeals decision, right? If you want to change zoning, isn't that a town meeting?
It is a town meeting.
Okay.
yes.
All right.
Okay, it just says he's seeking a special permit to use the property as a single-family home. The property is located in the commercial zoning district and was formerly known as the Hearthstone Agency.
Okay.
So he's looking for a variance.
He's
to
looking for a
build.
variance to the zoning.
Okay. Cable Advisory meets later this month. Finance Committee, I wasn't able to attend because I was away on business, and the School Building Committee next meets on Wednesday, March 23rd.
No report from the Capital Planning Committee. The Building Reuse Committee, we are willing and able to meet with any other committee in town or group, for that matter, to bring them up to speed on the work we're doing. The immediate need right now is we're preparing a scope of work to put out a bid for a marketing assessment at the direction of the Board of Selectmen to do a market assessment on the excess buildings that were identified in part of this, the survey.
And-
Figuring out a way to fund that.
And currently, there isn't any room for that in the fiscal 16 budget. So is that going to be a special vote, or where is the funding going to come from for that? Do you have any idea at this
Sort of
point?
depends on how much it is. I think we may be able to find someone who does it at a fairly reasonable cost, where we may be able to find it in this current year's budget.
Okay, okay,
But, you know, certainly that'll require the appropriate approvals.
okay.
That's it for me. Any town manager or department reports?
Just a couple. I want to mention that the Finance Committee continues review of the individual department budget requests for fiscal 17. Their next meeting is this Thursday at 7 o'clock, and they'll hear a presentation from the library and from Lunenburg Public Schools. And they will continue having a review of the budget essentially through the end of this month. The only other item I wanted to mention is that based on the work that the Building Reuse Committee has done and the presentation that they made to the board with the recommendation that at some point in the future the municipal offices be moved over to the TCP building. As you know, the school committee is interested in transferring ownership of that building to the Board of Selectmen as soon as this annual town meeting. If you've been following I think it was mentioned at last week's Finance Committee meeting, it's been mentioned that the school is not proposing anything within their fiscal 17 budget to cover any of the carrying costs of that building. The town has not either, because it's not a town building yet. But what we are doing, based on the report of the committee, is I've been working cooperatively with the superintendent to come up with a plan to lease that building to current tenants at a cost that would cover the carrying costs of the building at 100%. So we're not looking to make any money, but we have, for instance, with FLAC, the educational collaborative that is there, they have indicated an interest in staying in that building at least another year, and they would be willing to pay an increased rent that would cover the cost of that building. Similarly, PAC is renting space there and would like to continue to do that, as would the school's extended day program. So I hope by the end of this month we will have that all ironed out, maybe even sooner. But because it's been discussed at the Finance Committee, I don't want anybody to think that we're going to have another vacant building and no revenue. The building will be occupied, and the cost to run the building will be covered completely through the rentals.
Good news.
So
That
that's
it?
it.
Thank you. Alrighty then. We next meet on the 8th of March. Is there any public comment from the public? Please, Mr. Rogers.
Thank you. I'm here for a clarification on the MART issue with specific regard to, as it affects Jim Bellafiore, the handicapped, the amputee veteran that we talked about. I've been transporting him to the intermodal site, and I wondered, because of this change, will he now be able to be picked up at his trailer at the trailer park?
He needs to get in touch with Mart and make sure he has the paperwork in order, and then he can call him for transportation.
Okay. So, okay.
If I could add, once Mart has determined his eligibility, he will be available for door-to-door service during Mart's business hours, which I believe are 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. or in
Okay.
that range.
Okay. What constitutes eligibility?
He has to meet the requirements under the Americans with Disabilities Act. I have every confidence that he can meet the eligibility requirements
Okay.
for that program. But he does, as Mrs. Luck said, needs to contact Mart. There's, I believe, an application that he needs to fill out, and they just verify his
They
eligibility.
need it signed by his doctor, sort of thing.
Okay. Fine. I mean, you don't have to be too bright to figure out that the guy comes in a wheelchair. I mean, you have to go to the VA. People just don't understand all of the transportation issues, but we'll work through it, and I appreciate what you've done. And I'm sure I speak for him, because this has been horrific for him, absolutely horrific. And I'd be remiss if I didn't thank publicly the good folks at the senior center. They have been unbelievable, above and beyond, helping and making sure that every courtesy that could be afforded to Jim has been afforded to him. So I'm happy to say that this is a success story, and I just hope that if there are others out there with similar issues, maybe not as severe as Jim's, that there's ways that we can identify them and take care of them, because I'll tell you, from my standpoint, it has been an eye-opening experience. It's been a bureaucratic nightmare, but we got it through, and thank you so much for your help. I'll be back to you.
Thank you for everything you've done.
That's what, Lunenburg's all about, helping people whenever we can. And you folks do this every single day, and although we haven't agreed on a lot of things, when push comes to shove, you always do have the best interest of the community at heart, and I publicly thank you for that. All right, thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rudd. Is there any public comment from the board? I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
So, second, sorry.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good night, everybody.